I couldn't say Grampy, so leave off and what stuff. One of the memories I remember about him is he was coming to visit in Massachusetts, and we had gone to the beach, and a lightning storm came out of nowhere, and we kind of really had to pack up really quickly. And I just remember him like watching my parents freak out, getting everything together, and he was just laughing, thinking it was hilarious that they were like so stressed out about this storm that was coming. And then I remember we had gone and gotten ice cream, and it started raining there, and yeah, he kept like he would sneak me like chocolate chips and stuff like that. My parents weren't looking. So yeah, I'd say those were my fondest memories. And if my mom was here, my mom was Linda, she probably would have said about how they used to always read the newspaper on Sunday morning.
Yep.
I'm Evelyn. I'm not singing.
I think you better get in here.
Yeah. I remember just sitting at the table, eating dinner all the time, and sitting in his chair. I actually remember there's a picture of, I think it's Sullivan as a baby. We're all sitting on the couch. I think you're holding her, and I literally remember taking that picture. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I got a lot, but.
Okay, going next. And I'm after you.
Okay. Let's get down, yeah.
Erica, how's your voice?
We're making her sing.
I don't know for Daryl Man. I know it's usually 834 beauty, but not today.
I know.
One of my memories is Papa at the end of his life, and we were playing doctor with him, and all of like Nina and my mom were like, you guys be gentle with him, and he was like, oh, let them do whatever they want, like, and just sat back while we were probably incredibly annoying and hit him with tape measures, and he always let us do stuff like that. He let us use his Gillette razors in the shower and shave the side of the bathtub because we liked the shaving cream, and we wanted sweets, and our mother always said no, and he would just pull red licorice out of his pockets for us. He always had it somehow. And that's just, he always had our back, even when the other adults didn't want us to have fun.
That's what grandparents do.
Yep.
Spoil them and give them back.
I'll try to do this quick. Like as a child, we grew up in a really tumultuous home, and it was very chaotic. And when we would come home from school, it was me and the three sisters, and I would terrorize them, and I would provoke some issue between them and my mom. And I knew that Dad would be coming home, and I would feel the wrath of Dad. And Dad would get home, and I would get the wrath of Dad, and then I would develop these resentments, and I'd go to bed trying to be angry at Dad, and then he would come in and hug me, kiss me, we'd make up, and he'd talk about not going to bed angry or going to bed with resentments. But I really liked being angry as a child. Like, it was almost like, Molly asked me one time, why were you like the way you were when you were a child? Why'd you take it out on us? And I just said, because you were in the room. Like, whatever was going to be around me, it wasn't personal almost.
Yeah.
Like, the anger had to go somewhere. And so then as we grew up and things went on, Dad worked, like, for the last, 10 years of his life. He worked till he couldn't work. And in the end, he had worked in a lot of drug and rehab agencies, but he got a job in Fostoria, Ohio, and this was a singular agency, and it was just him. There was no secretary, and when he got there was just a rotary phone. There was no fax, no nothing, no computer. And then this place got an endowment or inheritance of like $400,000, and that was because a guy had left money to 16 different businesses in Fostoria. 15 of them had gone out of business, and the rehab agency was the only one left.
Yeah.
And so all this money was supposed to come to them, and there was some lawyer in charge, and he thought the lawyer was churning the account just to get fees off of it, and he couldn't get the money. And then Odatis, which is the head of Ohio's drug and alcohol program, came in and tried to shut him down because they said he didn't have all the handicap things, didn't have all the fire extinguisher. There was all these rules and regulations, and he's like, hey, these rules and regulations are made for like agencies in Cleveland, Columbus, like these big institutions, and you're going to have me live up to all these expectations. And he was like, no way, it's not going down like that. So I met him, I was living in Columbus, and I met him downtown at the Capitol building. We went into Odatis, we tried to get the director. She was in Washington. He was like, well, tell her I've been here, and I'll be back. Then we went over to Craig Wright, who was a former Supreme Court justice, and he worked for one of the lawyer company that won the tobacco settlement for Ohio. So we went into that office. He was out, but he was going to be back later that day. So we went to some errands, we came back. Craig, who had like a medical procedure, didn't want to see anyone, saw Dad, and we're in Craig's office, and Craig's like, well, I kind of got a conflict of interest here, Marty. We represented the big tobacco, and we got something going on with Odatis, and so that was kind of quashed, like, well, we'll reset or whatever. So we went home, and about a week later, Dad called me and said, hey, Craig Wright said, screw all that. He's going to take the case. So Dad and Marty took on O'Daddis and won.
Yeah.
The agency is still there.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, it's awesome. Awesome.
So good.
One more story though, and this might not be funny to some people.
Are you the last one?
No.
Hold on. Yes, we have. Sullivan hasn't gone.
Oh, Sullivan's got to sing.
Emmett hasn't.
I know,
Oh,
but you can
Emma's
remember
gotta-
something about him that you've been told.
Yeah.
Same thing for Colton and Erica.
We didn't talk. Colton doesn't know anything.
Not going.
Oh, I got too excited. There's one thing I wanted to say in there is that if you saw Dad do this,
Yeah.
you knew something was coming.
Yeah.
50% of the time it's because he was talking about Dan.
Yeah.
Dan was coming home.
We have to go. I'll go next and put away.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Nick,
Yeah. You make something up, Erica.
never met Marty. I've heard lots of stories.
Yeah.
It does sound like he would have been a lot of fun to watch football with. Partially because it sounds like he didn't let anyone talk to him. So I've heard. I have to remind Trish of that every once in a while. So.
The only time I was quiet during a Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
Amen.
Nice.
I'm
Erica.
Erica, Dan's girlfriend. Never had the pleasure to meet Marty, but it is amazing to sit here and listen to everyone. I know, even with my family, like everybody have a different story, a different experience. But this is really nice to get to hear about him. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
Here.
Participating.
I think he would have liked you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're glad that you were able to be here with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you been told any stories?
None that he wants to recall right now.
That he wants to tell anybody?
Even that you look.
I don't know anything either.
Yeah, circus.
How about if I tell a story
Yeah.
involving Dad and Emmett?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
There we go.
So Marty was very boisterous and very outgoing, but he allowed people to be shy.
Mhm.
So Emmett, I remember taking a bike ride one time with Beth and Emmett, and then we went. Emmett was small; he was on the back of her bike, and we went to the coffee shop. And Tina, who owned the coffee shop, which I worked at in high school, Coffee Express, said, so we're on this bike ride. He's waving at everybody, saying hi to every single person he sees. But then when we got there and he knew Tina said, "Hi, Emmett," and he just was shy and behind Beth and didn't want to talk. And that was fine. And so we go back home or back to Nina and Papa's. We went over to Nina and Papa's, and we're over there, and she's, Dad is asking what we did, and I told him, and he said, "It's okay." He just said, "It's okay, Emmett. You don't have to talk to everybody that talks to you."
Yes.
And
Yep.
it was just that, like, him giving permission to being shy. And he said Beth was shy when she was little, and that he at first was like, "No, you have to say hi when people say
Boundaries.
hi."
Yep.
And Mom,
Yep. Boundaries.
And Mom said, "No, she doesn't."
Yep.
And he just, "Oh, okay." And so he really carried that, and it was like,
Oh.
it was important. So as much as he wanted Emmett's attention, it was like, no, he would ask for a hug every single time, and Emmett would say no, and he would just
Yep.
accept that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he'd say, "Okay, maybe next time."
Yep.
Sullivan, you don't have to